Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, City of Las Vegas Communications Director David Riggleman. On this show, we tell you about new rules proposed for pet owners in the city, and we'll meet the man responsible for housing and helping hundreds of our veterans in need. The councilman who represents Ward 2, Steve Soroka, joins me now to talk about all this. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you.
Thanks, David. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Ward 2, you know it well. It's your neck of the woods.
It's my neck of the woods, and you know what? I'm just amazed and honored to have this opportunity to represent them. We have some great families and members of the community there.
Very good. It's my neck of the woods, too.
There you go.
I live in Ward 2 as well. For those of you who don't know Ward 2, it's out west of the Rainbow Curve. If you live in that area, work in that area, then of course you're in the city limits of the city of Las Vegas, and you are represented by Mr. Steve Soroka, former Air Force Colonel, who is now on our city council. We're honored to have you transition from the military to our city. So,
it's great to continue public service, David. Thank you.
It's in your blood, obviously.
Clearly, clearly.
Councilman, let's jump in here and talk about rules for pet owners, the new rules related to all of this. This has been a confusing thing because the city has an ordinance that basically says that you have to buy a pet that comes from a rescue entity or a local shelter. And that created a little bit of confusion for people that maybe wanted to buy a pedigree dog, a dog with a pedigree, a purebred dog, and how to work around that. So I know you, some of the council members, are trying to figure out how do we navigate this whole question of responsible pet ownership is, I guess, what I'm leading up to. So lead us in the discussion a little bit.
Sure,
here.
great. We could spend the whole show talking on this.
Seriously.
This is such a great, it's an important topic. And you know, we have a lot of wonderful pet owners in Ward 2, especially well, I know every house, almost every other house door I knocked on had a dog or a cat. So this is a big deal. But we had a proposal to ban the sale of anything but rescue animals at our pet stores. And when I asked the question, why are we doing that? The answer was, well, we're concerned about puppy mills out of state.
Yeah.
And when I heard
irresponsible breeders who just breed, and the dogs are sick and often in bad conditions and don't want to foster that.
Right, inhumane conditions, and none of us support that. And so we looked at it and said, how can we best tackle that problem here in Las Vegas? So we put a number of rules in place, and we're proposing that. And I base them on 5 pillars, and I think it's important to understand where these rules are based on. Number 1 is animal welfare, the humane treatment of animals from birth on to being our best friend. And then second, it would be consumer protection. So we know what we're buying, and the consumer in this case is also the pet store. They get products that they're not happy about as well, so we want to protect them. And then next would be enforcement. We need to have the ability to enforce the rules to make sure we have the correct welfare and the right protection for our businesses and our consumers. Then education, the thing what we're doing right now, help educate. But we always need revenue in order to support this issue. So what we've done is we're changing some of our licensing rules in town. Is what we're saying is, if you're going to bring a truckload of puppies in from out of state into our city or anywhere outside of our city, you need to be licensed. And we mirror that after the seed to sale of the marijuana industry. So we're calling it birth to best friend.
I gotcha.
And so we're able to know who those distributors are and hold them accountable for what we would say would be the protection of the consumer. So if we're getting a bad product, we can hold the right people accountable. So when you buy a puppy at a puppy store, we can trace it back to its origin and hold them accountable.
Right. It's all in the light, as opposed to in the past, you didn't quite know where the dog came from, exactly where it was bred, how it was treated when it was raised, if it was healthy or not. All of those things.
And those are all issues for our residents, and we want to tackle that. In addition, there's spay-neuter rules that we're putting in place that, clarify some of the voucher rules that we had in place. It makes it more obvious that we do require you to spay and neuter. And if you
talk about that, Councilman, why the pet overpopulation issue is significant here.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And most responsible pet owners will have their pet spayed or neutered right away. But we have this growth in population that we see in our shelters. It's primarily pit bulls and chihuahuas. So if you went there to find another kind of breed, it would be challenging. And many renters don't realize if they bring home a pit bull breed, it's against the rules of their rental lease. and they can find themselves in a corner. So we want to encourage.
The dogs end up at the shelter.
Back at the shelter.
Nobody wants to adopt them.
Right.
And they end up being put down. And that's the issue. It's this vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle, and we want to eliminate that completely if we can. And along with those lines is an identification. When our animal folks go out and do find an animal, how do we find its owner? Well, the chipping has been a very beneficial. When you talk to our animal foundation, the chipping is a great resource. So we are increasing increasing the chipping, and if we increase it just 6% a year, in 5 years, about 50% of our pets in the community will be chipped. So if the animal
is lost, somebody steals it.
Yeah.
You now can figure out what happened to the dog. Someone else gets the dog. They scan it. Oh, this is Councilman Soroka's
It's Councilman Soroka's dog.
Yeah, so.
And unfortunately, when you put a ban in place, what happens is there's a lot of underground black market world that does happen. And I hear stories of people watching you walk your dog, and then they find a way to steal it. And if they take it to the shelter and it's not claimed within so many hours,
they get the dog.
They can have the dog.
That's right.
And we want to prevent that. So it's a great benefit for the consumer, for the animal, and for the community as a whole. So it's a wide-reaching ordinance we're bringing forward, but we know it'll really help. And you know what's great, David? We've gotten calls from Washington, D.C., from out of state saying Las Vegas is being looked at the national leader in this area.
And you're working with Animal Foundation here locally to make all this happen too.
Yes.
So we're not just going on our own on this. We're working with the experts that know animals and deal with the pet overpopulation problem. So it's going to be a nice balance of making sure everybody's covered. The animals are looked after. Consumers looked after, the pet shops are going to still be able
and
to
we've reached out to the county. We have our congressional delegation. We're communicating with them. So if we have a good support for this moving forward.
Councilman, time frame. Where are we in the process? What happens next?
We have a 30-day window now to look at the business impact of any new rule that we put in place. We look at the impact to businesses, and so far we've had the business support for all of this. They do know they want to have a good product, so about 30 days for the business impact, and then it'll go through the ordinance process, which are 3 readings at City Council, and the 3rd reading is when we vote. Okay. So then that takes 6 weeks roughly. So
approximately, yeah.
So about 2.5 months out.
Sounds good.
But
people, if you want to follow, just follow the city's website, lasvegasnevada.gov. Follow the agenda. You can see when the items appear and all of that. And you can follow the process along. So
I'm very excited about it.
Or contact Councilman Soroka. We'll tell you how to do that before the end of the show, and he'll get you up to speed too. Councilman, the other big issue, let's shift gears a little bit, has been this whole issue of open space. All across the valley, primarily we've seen golf course communities where the golf course closes, someone else purchases the golf course, then wants to figure out what to do with the golf course. At the same time, you've got people living around the golf course who invested, bought their homes there. So the city, and you specifically, have been kind of in the middle of trying to figure out, how do I balance the needs of the developer, the owner of the property now, with those of the people who've now got their life savings tied up in their house around the golf course, to where everyone can find some balance. And it has been a challenge, I know, since you've come into office. Yes. So we're working on an open space ordinance, and I know that other communities, Henderson has something similar, and I think, give us a progress report. How are we coming with all of this?
You framed the problem very well, David, and I see my role as guiding the community, both the developer, the residents, and the city through this in a very challenging and new area. And what makes it challenging is our rules don't specifically apply to building residences inside of a completed master plan community.
Right.
Our rules are specific for developing in pristine desert communities where as we grew as a city to the outskirts of the valley. Mm-hmm. And now that we're reaching those limits, people are looking inward to where we have open space and they could possibly develop and make a profit. And it is wonderful. We've been in communication with people down in Henderson, and they recently adopted an ordinance to say they will put new policies in place that actually mirror many of the things that we've already been discussing.
Here in the city. Because they've had the same issue, Councilman. Golf course communities where the golf course is sold to someone else, and the homeowners are like, well, now what happens? And the developer's like, well, now what happens? Can I develop this, or can I not? Are there rules in play that are going to prevent me from doing that? And there's a push and shove as to exactly who can do what.
There is, and because we don't have rules, there's not really transparency on this issue to what the developer can expect and what the residents can expect. And then there is a role for the municipal government, the local, whatever government that is in that area, to play as well. So the developer is trying to maximize profit, and we respect that. The residences are trying to preserve their quality of life.
Exactly, and their investments in their homes.
Right, and then the municipal government's job is everything else, to ensure the economic well-being of the community, that the infrastructure is in place, roads, police, fire, schools are adequate, and then you have the sewer, electrical, gas, all those other connections that the city is responsible for. And in the case of Badlands, there's a major drainage concern. Badlands Golf Course sits in a 100-year flood zone, and it is a natural arroyo. And so the goal of this ordinance is to make all of that transparent. And step one, we're bringing that forward soon, is to require and codify actually what the city council and the mayor has done in every development case. We asked the developer to talk to the local community and come back with what they've heard the community say and what they're going to do or not do about it and why. And unfortunately, in the Badlands case, the dialogue has ceased. And even though the mayor has repeatedly asked for that dialogue to happen, there has been no more. And what step one of this policy would do would just require that. It would make it a requirement. It wouldn't be a request. It would just say, hey, do this, please.
This is part of the process.
Right. And that's really the first part in all challenges, right? If there's a conflict,
you got to talk.
You got to talk. Right. And that's all this is saying. Step one is saying, please talk, tell us how you're going to resolve those conflicts so we can help you, the developer, and you, the residents, navigate through this.
Well, you've worked very hard on trying to find that course through this. It's been very difficult.
Yes.
But this seems like maybe Henderson and us, the city of Las Vegas, city of Henderson, have come across a process, a policy that seems like it's got some real chance of working.
Yes, and this is a national problem. And what we've done and shared with Henderson is we've researched the best and most effective policies across the nation that are dealing with this similar problem. And we've mentioned it before, communities like Texas and Florida and even California are about a decade ahead of us in this.
Right.
So they've dealt with this, and I've read thesis papers that people have written on this topic to help inform this issue. So we have national research, we have actual research, and we've taken the best of the best, put it in a policy and said, hey, let's put this in place in here to help our community.
Sounds good.
Nobody wants to have an open space just wither away. We like it to be put to its best use.
Councilman, time frame on this too. Where are we?
It's interesting. This will be aired. We'll already have had the recommending committee at the city by the time our show is aired, and about a week or between 1 and 3 weeks after this show is aired, it'll come before the city council for a vote. So please come out, voice your opinion on this.
So we're looking at April then, probably?
I think about the first part of April.
Okay.
And the home builders associations and other folks have weighed in, and we've taken their language and adjusted it because we want to make sure that it is for these open space in an already built community. It's not just it's not for a new community. It's one that's it's an existing built community.
Yeah, that's an important distinction.
Yes, the word built is important, not a drawing on a piece of paper.
Right.
You can move those things around on your design. But once it's built, then we need to have this dialogue.
Like in the case of Badlands, it's been there many years.
Right, and Legacy and Silverstone, Painted Desert, should that be an issue in the future?
It's across the valley. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
All right. Councilman, moving on here to talk about something else very important. You've got a new assignment. It's an important assignment. The city tweeted this out. Las Vegas City Council approves the appointment of Councilman Steve Soroka to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Committee on Fiscal Affairs. This is a very big deal, everyone, because Metro is funded in part by the county, in part by the city, and there's 2 council members, 2 commissioners, and a citizen that oversee that budget, basically oversee Metro's budget. It's very, very important. It's a huge budget. It's all about public safety. So now you're going to be one of the watchdogs of how that money is spent.
I'm excited about it, David. That's, again, great lead into that. And as we were talking before the show, about 2/3 of the city's budget is public safety, and a vast majority of that is the Metro Police budget. So I'm excited to be part of this, but even more important is I've heard the people of Ward 2 say their number one concern is public safety. So I'm going to be right on the front line of fighting that battle for the ward and for the city. and it's exciting. I know it's going to be challenging, and we have a great sheriff and a great team over there to work with, and I'm happy to work with Commissioners Brown and Sisolak on this as well. And Councilman Anthony is my partner in crime, no pun intended, here from the city, and I think we have quite an amazing team I get to work with. I'm honored.
Yeah, Councilman Anthony, great resource. He served on Metro 29 years himself, retired as a captain, so he knows it from the inside, and you guys will be a great team with your military experience too, running a big organization, understanding how that works. It'll be a very good group to make sure Metro is on track.
Yeah, so I think it's a good fit, and I'm honored.
Well, good luck. Good luck with all of that. Councilman, shifting gears big time here. Let's talk about something far less lofty than managing multi-million-dollar budgets. It's Nevada Reading Week, and you showed up at Jacobson Elementary School to read to the kids here, right? We're going to show a little of this.
Well, they're our future.
Yeah.
And they were a great crowd. We had a lot of fun reading the Lorax, and the students knew the story. They were helping me through it. And so we had a great time, and you can see we had a funny picture here with the rabbit ears going on. But what a I was warmly received, and I got to sit with their student council. I kept accidentally referring to them as city council, and they would correct me. But we shared some of the similarities, how they have to represent their class's interests and not their own. And they really appreciated that dialogue because they have a real personal sense of that challenge.
Yeah, it's not that easy sometimes.
It's not that easy sometimes.
The kids are learning that too.
They were great. It was a lot of fun.
Good deal. You've been out and about everywhere. You also, one of the things you want to do is learn your ward, see the public facilities, the schools, the fire stations. You were out at Fire Station 7, February 20th. You had dinner with the crew out there. I think you brought your wife Nancy along as well. That's Steve Renke, the captain out there. He's in charge of cooking up, I think it's lasagna?
We had lasagna, amazing lasagna. Yeah, I think our chefs on TV have to look out. He did a great meal, and I know they have what's it, Code 3?
Code 3 Cooking. Eric Sorensen and our staff puts that together. Yeah, we got our own little Food Network thing going on here at Channel 2.
And look, even the branch chief. I keep calling branch chief, but the
captain?
Yes.
Oh, battalion chief?
Battalion chief,
battalion
there you go. Branch chief is a military term.
Yeah, true.
Battalion chief was there, and we had a great meal. And Nancy, my wife, Nancy Wong, was there joining me in the red coat, Chinese New Year red. And we had a great meal, and it was really entertaining. They actually enjoy driving by my house, turning their siren on.
Does Nancy appreciate that? I was going to ask you.
Especially in the middle of the night.
Right.
But we have a good time. We live about a mile from there, so they have a good time with us on a regular basis.
It's out basically kind of behind Summerlin Hospital's the area, Fire Station 7, if you're trying to get your bearings a little bit. So.
Yeah, and they're a great crowd, and we appreciate them reaching out and inviting us for dinner.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm getting hungry just watching
that. You should. It was well worth it. Well worth it.
Steve dropped some off for us here, so love to see that or taste that. So
there you go.
Councilman, a couple events coming up we want to talk about. Make sure everybody's aware of this. You have Coffee with the Councilman. This is going to be March 22nd, Thursday, March 22nd, out at Samba Latte, Boca Park. This is 8 to 9:30, and this is just a casual way to come meet you, chat over issues, have a cup of coffee, nothing intimidating, good stuff.
Right, very informal. Please come out, chat. We'll just say hi. We don't even have to talk about an issue. Just say hi and learn about each other, and I'm happy to do that. They've been very productive so far, great turnout, so come on out, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. You're very personable, so it's always going to be a good event if you get to shake hands and talk with Councilman Soroka at all. It's a good thing. And Councilman, on March 10th, we want to tell everybody, shredding event. These are huge. You've got those documents. It's tax time coming up here. You want to get rid of the old tax information, protect your identity. Here's the opportunity. Shredding event Saturday, March 10th from 10 to noon out at Veterans Memorial Leisure Service Center, right smack dab in the heart of Ward 2 there.
Right next to Palo Verde High School. Please come out. We have at least 200 cars show up each time. We limit it to about 5 boxes, but hopefully, we're doing it on a regular basis. So if you have more than 5, we'll be back out in another quarter or so. So come back out.
Anything that's got your personal information, social security numbers, account numbers, bring it, shred it, be safe. And this isn't like your little shredder at home where it goes through one at a time. It pulverizes this stuff into basically confetti. No one could ever read it again. So that's the idea.
Right. We're here to protect your information.
Exactly. Good stuff. Well, Councilman, we have a special guest here, so we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, we'll introduce you to the man who's helped hundreds of veterans in our city find housing. That's next, so please stay with us.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
You're doing great. We're gonna try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, button the seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep
pedaling. Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Welcome back. Veterans Village number 3 is officially open and serving the veterans in our community who can no longer live on their own. With us today is the man who created Veterans Village, Arnold Stock. Arnie, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know Councilman Soroka, me, everybody at the city, we're big fans of yours. Former city employee, did you know that, Councilman?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, former city. So he's still
Director of
serving the
Housing.
community, just in a different capacity. now.
Outstanding. Public servant.
Yeah, I know it on both sides, so
You
I
do.
love the city.
Arnie, let's start off with this. The city tweeted this out, very proud. The mayor and Councilman Steve Soroka helped officially open the 3rd Veterans Village campus in downtown Las Vegas. Arnie, we've got some beautiful video of this place. This is the official opening that day. This is for veterans who basically need assisted living, right?
Correct. These are for our veterans that can no longer live independently. And so when they're discharged out of either the VA hospital or another hospital, or by their doctor's advice or orders, we will take them and provide a respectful, decent place for them to heal and recover.
That's terrific. Now, Councilman Soroka here is going to lead a Jody call with all the veterans there.
I love it.
So
That was perfect.
This is pretty cool stuff because the veterans in the audience got this.
And if that shoe don't come around, I'll be the first one on the ground.
Our veterans are optimistic, David. They're always looking on the bright side, and Arnie here gives us an opportunity to have that same optimism in our community.
And
Really value that.
I heard you were a tough act to follow after all of that. If you don't know
Very
the Jody
tough.
call, yeah, you're
Very
in
tough.
trouble there.
It's a lot of, we got to have fun, right?
For sure.
And it's important. And our veterans know how to have fun in the face of adversity. Yeah. And it's
Arnie,
good.
tell everybody, why did you start these veterans villages? There are 3 of them now. How did this get started?
My dad was a veteran of World War II, United States Navy yeoman class, and he asked me to do something. He more or less told me to do it right before he died, that passed away, that he wanted me to do something that's respectful, full of dignity, and do it Vegas style, he told me, because he was a resident of Las Vegas. And that's what we do. That's our bar. We want to treat people with respect that have served our country. And I believe as a community, it's the community's responsibility to do that. And Councilman Soroka has showed up to so many things that we've done. We're very grateful for
One
that.
of his main things is supporting veterans.
And every time we can shout it out, we're very grateful to the city for that opportunity.
Well, Arnie, my dad's a World War II veteran in the Navy also, but I never went and contributed like you have here. So I'm glad someone's carrying the mantle for me. You talk about a place to offer dignity and respect, as we've talked about. Look at this facility. It's beautiful. And this is an assisted living facility for former veterans.
We'll have chef-prepared meals. We have concierge services. We have actually our own limousine that's going to take our vets to the VA hospital and to the clinics. We're 24/7, 365. We have our own 24/7 pharmacy on site. And so the level, like I said, the level of service will be extremely high there. Anybody who's watching this that knows us knows that that's how we operate.
Yeah.
We're a grassroots effort that rely on people to help us.
Yeah, and you really deliver, Arnie.
Thank
That's
you.
the 3rd
Thank you.
facility. That's an assisted
Yes.
living facility. But you also have Veterans Village 2,
Correct.
the second one. That's permanent housing, and this is for people that needed a place to live, and this is going to be their home now.
Correct. And Veterans Village 2 is also 24/7, 365, because we never close our operations. And we have 204 units. We have a crisis intervention center. We have a full service 3-square food pantry, and we're just getting into urban farming there, which is a new thing
Really?
that we just found out about actually last night. So it'll be a total living experience.
And then the first phase, Veterans Village 1, was transitional housing for veterans with addiction, Arnie? That was
No, it's just veterans that are homeless. We
Homeless that
take
needed
right off the street
and emergency housing.
and give them housing and let them transition into Veterans Village 2 or 3 or the other ones we're going to do.
Talk about how that transition is so important, why that helps kind of nurture them from one phase to where they can end up in permanent housing then.
Well, when I first got into it, the whole idea when I started studying the matter of how we treat our veterans, there's a big gaping hole in the system, and the hole is lack of hours and access and service and information. So that's why the crisis intervention process works so well, because we can triage a veteran, which sometimes takes 2 to 4 months, into a couple hours or maybe even an hour, so that we assess the problem right there. And sometimes it's not housing, sometimes it's just IDs or clearing up records with the VA. The VA is a lifeline to us. So we find the partners in the community that can help us, and we grab onto that aspect of what they do well.
Yeah, it's a huge contribution to the community.
It is.
I know this is something that veterans issues, as I said, very, very important to you. This is incredible.
Yeah. And our veterans we are blessed to have amazing Americans serve in our military force.
Yes.
And Nevada is disproportionately high in the number of veterans in the state. There are over 300,000 veterans in the state. That's about 10 to 11% of the electorate. And then, of course, some of those are going to have challenges. It's not that they're not great. They just need a hand up, not necessarily a hand out. They want to get back on their feet. And we need these kind of community grassroots opportunities that Arnie provides to help our more challenged veterans survive, improve, build a new life for themselves.
You know, and the interesting thing, people may not know this who are watching, but Las Vegas has achieved what's known as functional zero for veterans homelessness. In other words, there's a place for our veterans who are homeless in this community if they want to go into to find those facilities. And Arnie, that's really because of you and the contributions that you've made that have really allowed that to happen. I know others are helping too, but your contribution is really what put us over the top to allow that to happen.
Well, we were really blessed to have been honored for that at the White House through Mayor Goodman. And we do, our partners also, our U.S. Vets, Salvation Army, Help USA, Catholic Charities, the Shade Tree. So we can't do without those partners, but we put that issue to the forefront that here's how to fix the system, and you don't have to create a new agency to do that. And so we were very fortunate with that. And that's what functional zero means.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge, obviously, as you said, recognized by the White House. Not many communities can boast that.
Not many communities. Right. And Mayor Goodman leading that effort has been wonderful. And then we have community partners just taking that lead and running with it.
Gentlemen, we have about 30 seconds left. I'll give you guys the final words. What do you want to contribute? Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Arnie. Thanks for being on the show. But we really appreciate you getting the word out and taking care of our veteran community so selflessly. And thank you for having the ability to create those relationships outside of your area of expertise and bringing that in to make what you're doing successful for our veterans. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Here. Well, we want to tell everybody out there that, hey, we always want to hear from you. So if you have something you want to share with Councilman Soroka, you can always find him on Facebook. And if you leave a comment, we may use your post on our next show because we'd love to hear from you. You can also contact him by picking up the phone, 702-229-6405, or send him an email. His address is ssoroka@lasvegasnevada.gov. Arnold Stock, thank you so much for being on the show.
You.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and
awesome.
continued success. You're really making a contribution in our community.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you both for joining us for this edition of Access City Council. Don't miss our next show beginning on March 22nd with Councilwoman Michelle Fiore. And don't forget, you can watch us live on the internet at kclv.tv. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time around.